And we are live. This is Out of the Box podcast. I'm your host, Jim Andre, co-host Bradley Powers. We have special guest, Mars Sterling Turner, and another mystery guest. How's everybody doing today?
Okay, thank you. Thank you for joining us, Cassidy Lightwing.
Oh, I thought you said he was a mystery guest.
Yes, he is, and I'm introducing him as a mystery guest. He's a mystery because he won't show his face.
I think you're calling him by shot. You meant mysterious, correct?
Yeah, mysterious.
Now I've got mermaid dreads going on, so I'm not turning my camera on.
Oh, do you?
Yeah.
Okay, yes, everybody. It's Cassidy Lightwing, and he's off camera on this show.
Hi, everybody.
So basically, I'd like to introduce Cassidy Lightwing, legend in the making, and also mysterious guest. And I'd like to introduce Mars Sterling Turner. Mars has experienced paranormal phenomena such as telekinesis, mind reading, and remote viewing. And the discussions that we were actually talking about earlier is psychological warfare is actually on the increase. Okay, whether you realise this or not, psychological warfare is on the increase. And I can prove that because where's our guest gone? Oh my God, he's been psychologically attacked.
He may have been abducted. He may have been abducted. Who knows? Oh, he's back.
Hi, David Daly. Thank you for joining us. Thank you, Sherry, for joining us. Disgusting Madman, pleasure to have you near us. So Mars was actually talking with me earlier, and about possessions and psychological warfare, which can be instigated by spiritual entities, extraterrestrials, demons, and also the military can also instigate psychological warfare. And I think Mars was actually suggesting in most cases military, where I actually don't believe it is military in most cases. Definitely not in my cases. I believe that spiritual entities, demons and devils, and there are other sources, extraterrestrials can instigate psychological warfare as well as the military, but I don't think it's the military in all cases.
And
So, where do we start?
How about mind control? Where does that come from? Yeah.
Governments of the world have been experimenting with mind control for literally thousands of years. They've used a lot of methods, many methods. One of the methods that they will use for mind control and research thereof, that's going to be coming out in public soon, is the use of psychics and whatnot. You know, they'll get a psychic, strap them down, feed them full of the right kind of drugs, and bam. You know, if the psychic is powerful enough, they could theoretically project a thought and thus control others. You know, and it seems far-fetched, but like I said, the governments of the world, they'll try anything. You know.
So I wonder how that fits in with religious beliefs that we have free will.
Well, that's a real deep discussion. Free will is
that's the thing. See, I mean, so those who are being controlled without realizing it, they shouldn't be held responsible for their own actions. Correct?
No, I don't believe so. I was raised on Star Trek, and in Star Trek, if you're not in control of your body, you're not responsible for the crime. You know, like for example, if somebody were to hack Mr. Data and have Mr. Data, punch Picard in the nose, it's not Data that's responsible. It's the guy that hacked Data. You see what I mean? Same thing with psychics. This is known law in the galaxy. Just humans have a hard time. You know what's weird is your species is the only ones that we've ever encountered that have the ability to tell themselves they don't know right from wrong. Like everyone knows right from wrong. Everyone in the universe knows right from wrong. But only humans have the ability to go, no, I don't. No, I don't. No. You can't prove I do. It's very bizarre.
The devil made me do it.
Yeah, right. More like humans made the devil do it.
Yeah, exactly. I agree with you there, Cassie, because that's just a cop out.
Right?
Yeah, and before we go any further, no joining sides.
Hey, I only got one side, and that's my own. Luckily, y'all are on my side. You don't know it. You
David
are.
Daly. David Daly says there's an echo when Bradley speaks.
I know, it's cool. I wish we'd have done it on purpose.
Yeah,
Hmm.
that's my spirit guides, basically. So let's go over to our guest, Mars. Thank you for joining us, Mars. So Mars,
Hey,
um, you've been possessed how many times?
gosh. For 3 years ago, from 3 years ago to I'd say about 5 years.
And would you say they were spiritual entities, demonic entities, living entities, uh,
I'd say they're rich
extraterrestrials, or
people,
military?
and military were just serving them, and Azeroth was
As,
one of the
yeah.
leaders, and like you experienced supposedly.
Did you
Uh,
say Azrioth?
yeah.
Angel of Death,
Mm,
basically.
the angel of death is Uziel or Uriel, depending on
I
how you
think you said
pronounce it.
Azrael. Also, Azeroth is known by a few names.
No,
But
that's why I
like,
asked specifically. He said Azrioth. That's not the same
is it?
entity. Am I correct, Mr. Mars?
I think you're right. Azeroth is in a video game. It's just a code word for the military.
Mm. Okay, I'm learning about slang and colloquialism, so please forgive me. And shout out to Candace Fowler, who finally got it through my head and taught me that. So I tend to get hung up on proper names and stuff, so please forgive.
And yeah, shout out to Azazel says Facebook user. That's the Angel of Death, I believe. And Brian Parkway says, "Greetings, Sunday blessings. Hello, everyone. Hello, greetings. Thank you, everyone, for joining us.
Hi,
Over
Brian.
to you, Mark."
You got to keep in mind when it comes to angelic names, there are three primary cultures that our knowledge pulls from, and they disagree on whose names are what connect to which regalia or crown or halo, as it will. So, like the Muslims will say, this angel is the angel of death, and then the Christians will say this angel is the angel of death, and then the Jews will say this angel is the angel of death, and then there's the Nordics are going, we're all angels of death, ha 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 ha. So it's really a matter of perception. That's just my opinion, though. So this code word, please expound, explain more input, Mr.
Um,
Mars.
well, let's see here. If you ever express your psychic powers, you'll become interesting to rich people who will
Yes,
want your powers.
I
So
can
they'll,
personally verify that one.
yeah. So they try to get you to sin, or to like, for example, I have a magnetic motor that I'm not allowed to build. I can't, like, if I try to build it, they'll stop me.
Who?
And who?
Who?
I think it's the Rothschilds.
Oh, my buddies. Okay, gotcha. Please continue. Anything we can do to poke the Rothschilds in the third eye, I'm all for it. And you know what, folks? There ain't a damn thing they can do back. Y'all are more powerful than the Rothschilds, and the Rothschilds are starting to get scared. So please continue. Let's poke them. And I love you too, Thomas.
Azazel is the angel who corrupted mankind, and also, well, as to that, is the leader of rebellious angels, as seen in the book of Enoch. And in Jewish legends, Azazel is a demon or evil spirit to whom, in the ancient rites of Yom Kippur, a scapegoat was sent. That's not what I wanted to read. Azazel is a vigilant who rebelled against God to mate with women on earth, so it's possible he's not the angel of death.
Well, keep in mind, we're talking about entities from beyond the 1616 barrier. I mean, aside from mythological representations, what do we really know about entities that come from beyond the omniverse? We can call them angels, we can call them demigods, whatever you want to call them. My theory, and let's see what you think, Mr. Mars. My theory is that humans from all around the world were observing the same entities, but through the lens of culture, which is shaped by environment, diet, and warfare, all these kinds of things. These stories sort of diverged. So you got the people from the north that went north. They remember the story as a great big guy with a hammer that can control lightning bolts. But the humans that migrated south into the west, remember a lanky, quiet man that is simultaneously controlling the thunder and is afraid of it. You see what I mean? Then you've got other cultures that went far, far east, and they're the same entity. They had, now their stories of it tell tales of a elegant and regal man, with
Yes.
absolute self control. But the common grounds that all these cultures share are still there. You see what I mean? So I
Yes, what you're actually
humans.
suggesting is that some we could be talking about the same entity with 4 or 5 different names from different cultures. And what we
Exactly.
have to bear in mind that these spiritual entities like to present themselves in different different avatars of themselves, depending on their mood, I guess, or the culture. They present themselves as different avatars.
Yeah,
That's what I reckon.
that sums it up. Thank you very. You said it better than I can, as usual, Mr. Bradley, sir.
Thank you very much,
What do you think
Cassidy.
about that?
Touch the hat nearest Cassidy. I would kiss you if I could reach you, but I can't.
Yeah, my lips ain't that big.
Well, you can blow him a kiss. There's nothing wrong with that. Just blow him a
Oh,
kiss.
to Cassidy Lightwing.
There you go.
I blew Cassidy a kiss, and that's a first as well.
If you
No,
could see
put the
my
rope
face.
back.
So, Mr. Mars, so your thoughts are that the military has, if I understand correctly, that the military has far more to do with these entities, gods, angels, whatever, aliens, than people think. Am I correct?
Yeah, I believe Earth has been quarantined by the aliens. So most of the alien activity is actually the military, and it's code for anyone in high-ranking military access to information. Um, can you hear me?
Yep.
Okay. Um, high if they have high access to information, sometimes they have to be brainwashed to believe in the aliens, and the aliens got them, so no one listens to them.
I can agree with that. Making contact with humans has been difficult in the extreme. By the way, for those of you longtime viewers, you'll notice I'm no longer apologizing for being who I am, and I'm no longer putting any qualifiers. I got my proof. I have it. It's in my hot little monkey paw. Now we got to figure out what to do with it. So that's why there's that new, thing. But no, I agree with you there. It's almost like the government's training humans to look away from us, you know. And when I say us, I don't just mean the visitors. I mean light workers like Jim. Jim is an amazing.
Well, yeah, well, of course, because all that goes against their agenda. You know.
That makes sense.
They don't want anything that goes against their agenda.
Real quick, whoever is in charge from behind the scenes, Mars needs to be switched back in. He lost connection on one login. He's waiting in the background on the other.
There we go.
Yeah, there we go. And normally that would be my job, folks. It's just that I've been dealing with grief. So I've been dealing with grief, but I'll be back soon. So Mars, how far back do you think this goes? The military involvement
in faking alien stuff. I think we have advanced starships
I
and
like you more and more.
most of the stuff that is being seen by observers of so-called UFOs. Um, that's just military stuff. And I think, like, the aliens with big eyes and stuff, those guys I think they were birthed in space. And their heads grow bigger and everything. And they're just humans, but they're birthed in space.
What you're actually suggesting, Mars, is it possible you're saying that they're humans from the future?
No,
Oh, okay.
they're
I think what
humans
he's talking about
now.
is the consequence of of a biological being born in space, the effects on the bones and whatnot. They would grow differently. I think is what he's saying. Correct?
Like their eyes would be bigger, their head would be bigger.
Yeah.
Thomas
There's
Lynch is Thomas Lynch is saying if they can love anything, they love using our ignorance and denial and distractions against us.
I agree.
Yeah,
Thomas
I
has his
agree with
finger on the
that.
pulse as
I
usual.
agree with that as well. Yep.
So the reason why I'm asking specifically about the military on Mr. Mars is like I had a CIA handler for most of my childhood. Like I don't currently have one that I know of, and he would tell the wildest stories, and I don't never quite knew what to believe. You know, he said that this is gonna. I'm gonna say something. It's a racist comment, so feel free to bleep if you don't want to. But apparently, one of the code words from back in for the government from back in the Vietnam was to point out that even their Martians were slopes. And apparently, I'm supposed to say that, and the other people who are in the know are supposed to know what that means. All I can figure is that it's a comment about the angle of the eyes. You know,
Hmm.
but
I
he
never
was
heard
very
that.
very specific. The code phrase is even their Martians are slopes, and I don't. Whoever out there recognizes that code word, please say something because I've been carrying that forever. So I've been wondering how far back does it go? I mean, I know that the Egyptian military stayed clear of these entities, like completely clear. But my people have no record. And it kind of picks up again in the 60s. And quite frankly, there's so much deception in the world. I don't know what to believe. So what do you think, man? Help me out.
I know the Nazis were working on starships, so
Mhm.
if I'm not sure, like I think they had actually a base on the opposite side of the moon, and Obama nuked it. I don't know if he actually hit them, but he nuked several spots on the moon.
I remember
And
the
do you
talk.
know what happened, Mars? What when he nuked several places on the moon, and the moon rang like a bell.
I don't
It
know.
did not penetrate.
Right. Mr. Woodmass, John Woodmass. It's funny you get a bingo, Mr. Woodmass. We're actually doing research for a special episode on Bluebeam, so it's good job there. Bingo.
Allegedly, the moon is made of titanium steel, the lightest, strongest metal in the world.
Yeah, there was some plans I think in the late 90s, some propositions to go try to mine titanium from the moon, and it got squashed. Not
Yeah.
like, oh, this isn't feasible. Like, don't even talk about this. Are you crazy? Shut up. You know,
Yeah.
it's really interesting. You can tell what's going on if you pay attention to what the government says and does. And notice those are
Quite a,
separate. Says
quite a
and
lot of
does.
a lot of activity has been recognised on the dark side of the moon as well.
Well, I'm sure other guests have more information on that than I do.
Yeah.
That's a mystery to me too.
Yeah.
Yeah, Werner von Braun. Okay, so we figure it goes back to at least World War II. Do you think it goes back further?
Tough to say.
Okay, I got. You know what? I'm going to run this by you. There's a theory amongst shamans and whatnot. What do you think about the theory that, like, for example, the United States government, the Australian government, the Japanese government? What do you think about the idea that they were and are completely aware of indigenous people's special relationship with these entities and are slaughtering them because of that? The reason why I'm asking that is, for example, amongst my particular people, the Lakota, that we have a ritual called the ghost dance. If the government even thinks there's a group of natives doing a ghost dance, they just come in shooting. They indiscriminately shooting. So do you think that could be tying in?
That might be a Christian thing. Like, they don't want you worshiping other gods, and if you can call them in, then it's competition for the Christ.
Yeah, but I don't think the government worships Christ. I mean, do you really think that these world governments actually follow the Christ consciousness?
I believe the right wing people do.
Fair enough.
Did you know there was a time when the Bible was manifested and scribed by prophets using the hand of God that it actually had the ability to summons and conjure spiritual entities to manipulate dark negative energies that were emanating from the government. The government recognised this, especially King James, and can I use the word bastardised the Bible to make sure that to avoid these sort of frequencies from occurring from spiritual entities. But
That's
spiritual
actually
entities. Well,
that's actually a much deeper rabbit hole than it seems. It gets more and more fantastic as it goes. Most people start to lose interest at the Spear of Longinus, but no, that's actually absolutely true. Certain religious artifacts have had a known effect on supernatural and paranormal entities and phenomenon. What I find interesting is whenever one of these artifacts is discovered, it's locked away.
yeah.
You know, folks, as far as I'm
Governments,
concerned, that's the biggest sign that your governments are working with the enemy.
the
They're taking away the
governments
tools
felt
to fight back.
the governments felt threatened from these words of power described into the Bible. Therefore, they removed 66 books and manipulated the Bible to avoid a reoccurrence of their governments being shattered by spiritual entities, summons and conjured from prayers, from rituals, from the original Bible. The Bible is a fragment of its former self.
Facebook user is asking what would happen if the moon turned around and we saw the other side.
You
It
see
would
the
change.
holes.
It would change your perception of history overnight. There's a reason most of the structures around the moon are built on the other side.
Yeah, I like that one. About to read is Facebook user says, "Have you seen the red ring rolling around the sun like the Xbox death sign? I've seen a spot on the sun, like a hatch that could probably open or close. It looked like that, but it's like a hatch, like a spot on the sun. I've seen that."
Yeah, there's
Basically.
lots of reasons for those. The
I'm
question
also
is,
fascinated by how close a UFO can get to the sun without it causing any harm and absorb energy, streaks of energy from the sun. Amazing.
I'm not sure who to answer.
Brian Parkway Poquaya says one of the Apollo moon landing, the moon rang like a bell for 30 minutes, and they did it again, another Apollo loco, and hits the moon real hard, and it was like a bell for many hours.
Yep,
Of
that is
course,
indeed.
man, oh,
Yeah, David Icke is way closer on the mark than people want to give him credit for with regards to the moon. I have a feeling if we could actually speak to Mr. Icke, we'd be able to help each other.
You said David Icke, your name dropping.
No, I'm not. Well, is that name dropping? I'm trying to boost him. I'm trying to boost him up because like he's right.
Actually,
The
David
moon.
Icke. I don't follow him, and like yet we both have similar thoughts and theories. I will say David Icke is probably my favourite, although some say that he's actually working for the government as a side pop, creating fear to the masses. I don't agree with that.
I kind of do, and I'll tell you why. There is a man who was a big name in the industry a while ago, and then he died. His area of study was the crystal skulls, Machu Picchu, all that stuff. Trying to find the right way to word this without showing respect to the dead. People have found, and hopefully they'll start coming forward. The government is keeping David Icke from meeting and talking with certain people, psychics, etc., etc. You know, and Mr. Icke is doing himself no favors by, he's wrapped himself in this protection clause, and I don't blame him, not at all. I mean, that's what you got to do. But this protection clause he has himself wrapped in is also doing his mission harm. You know. But yeah, so Mr. Icke talks about how the moon is a hologram generator, and he's not wrong. However, with a little bit more information, it'll make a lot more sense. Basically, the moon is not a natural satellite. It's not.
No.
It is in fact a ship. Now it's coated in all sorts of dust and moon rocks and all that stuff because it's probably billions of years old at this point. The center of the moon is not a rocky center like one would think of it as in like a planet or an asteroid. It's a reality engine matrix. It's a plasma. Okay. Cats chasing themselves around, knocking shit over. So the plasma generator at the center of the moon is what Mr. Icke is talking about. It's a reality engine generator. Many species and cultures use the moon in the exact same places, but they're slightly out of phase with one another. Do you see? So they don't interact because they're not technically in the same reality, even though they're operating from the same vessel, the moon.
There was also a time when the Earth existed without the moon.
According to my understanding, the moon is actually the core of the Earth before the flood. So, there used to be water in the plasma state or in the a gaseous state in the thermosphere, and the Earth was much smaller than it was today. And all the continental plates fit together on a smaller Earth. And they're like 20 times older than the oldest sections of the seafloor.
And
Yeah,
you're right about.
Yeah.
I can hold on. I can expand on part of that. I disagree with you on the moon being a part of the Earth, but that's, I mean, who knows? Who knows the truth?
I agree with you as well, Cassie.
But what he's talking about, folks, is there is a squashed and put down model in geology. The Earth was smaller, right? You've all heard of Pangea, right? And we all know that the continents expand. What the geologists aren't telling the general populace is the Earth isn't staying the same size and the continents roaming around. The Earth is expanding. That's the way planets work. As the magma comes up from the mantle of a given planet, it expands the crust. The surface area of the planet goes up.
Allegedly,
Mr. Mars, I'm impressed by your body of knowledge.
Allegedly, Tiamat, the ribs of planet Tiamat, was and planet Theia, which was the size of Mars, a small planet, collided with the ribs of planet Theia, thus causing Agartha to form.
I thought Agartha was inner Earth.
Yeah, Agartha is inner Earth. You're right. Sorry,
I don't know much about Agartha.
Yeah, it is in Earth, Arthur. Yeah. Terra, we could say Terra. Terra is Earth, because it wasn't called Earth back then. Planet Fear, Terra, and Tiamat forms planet Earth. The moon is a separate entity that was actually towed there, possibly. How it got there, we're not sure. But you can actually Google information to validate the fact that there was a time when the Earth existed without the moon.
I have nothing to say on that subject. That I don't know about that.
Well, I do. The only reason why I know is because, like, my first show, Universal Truth Seekers, boom, boom, is going to be a subject about the moon, and that's how I know a bit about the moon, really. And you can Google where the moon existed without the Earth. I mean, the Earth existed without the moon. That astonished me, you know.
Right. What I mean to say is I have nothing to add on that subject. I mean, people can look it up and see for themselves where various cultures, recorded that the moon appeared.
Yeah.
There's lots of different views, and I have nothing
when
else
it appeared. No one really knows when it appeared.
Right.
But it did appear. It's not a natural phenomenon, a natural commodity of the universe. It's manufactured.
A Facebook user here says that the science looking at outer space is exactly the same as inner space, but we are closer to our ancestors than they could possibly imagine. Yes, 100%, Mr. Facebook user. Absolutely. One of the Japanese government guys recently, like last year or something, came forward with some information, and was it Japanese or Israeli? I can't quite remember. Either way, one of the prime ministers that has gone public about the interactions with extraterrestrials has gone public with one of the messages that the extraterrestrials have given humans is that space is not what you think. You don't even know what space is. And yes, he is correct. Space is a force. It's not that big black thing out in the sky. It's a force like gravity.
Why is there a gigantic map hanging in the UN of the Earth, as we know, with an ice wall around it, and outside the ice wall are very large varieties of continents? And that's a map hanging in the UN. Why is that hanging there? It's a fallacy.
Well, I think the answer there people should find for themselves. Look up the Piri-Reisi map, folks, and then ask yourself why Antarctica had to be rediscovered if it was known and partially explored up until the 1500s.
Another question for you is the firmament was listed in the Bible up to 150 years ago, 200 years. The firmament was also listed in history books up to 150, 200 years ago, and then it was removed.
Mm-hmm.
The firmament was removed, and which brings me to say this to you is, why is the rainbow shaped the way it is? Like it's inside a bowl or a firmament?
Well, I think that's due to the gravitational pull of the Earth. The gravity, affects the droplets, and it forms the curvature of the Earth. It doesn't necessarily mean there's a dome on top of the Earth.
Any place where gravity and space interact, you will find a vortex. That is the source of gravity that creates things like planets.
What I also like,
when gravity
in the last 24 hours, Jim Andre brought up a word which I haven't heard for quite a while, which is actually true, is the omniverse, and you are actually mentioning it as well, Cassidy.
Yeah.
Right, the omniverse, yep.
It's real and it exists.
Oh yeah. And then there's people currently trying to figure out what the name for the world beyond the omniverse would be, and it's like, no, Omni already covers it. But yeah, people are starting to. Humans are really amazing creatures, really, truly. People without any ability or machines or whatnot to be able to track and discover these phenomenons are starting to figure it out on their own, just through sheer thought experiment.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, I mean that's why it's good to think out of the box. You have to.
Yup.
If you want to gain any type of knowledge, right?
Yeah, always pay always keep an open mind to the concept of all things. That way, you will open your mind to enlightenment, wisdom, and divination. By believing in something, you could be denying yourself the truth. So it pays to keep an open mind. And NSG says, do you guys go looking for ghosts? I used to be a ghost hunter many years ago. However, I don't need to hunt ghosts. They hunt me. So I don't hunt ghosts. I'm not a ghost hunter. I don't believe any of us are ghost hunters.
I like ghost
Mars must
hunting.
have a bad connection. He keeps cutting out.
Yeah. I admire paranormal investigators, but no, I'm not a paranormal investigator. I can say this without ego or attitude. I'm one of the people that you call when ghost hunting goes bad. I'm an exorcist. I don't bother with ghost hunting. I don't need to bother with ghost hunting. That's for other people. But for the people who have a supernatural issue, when something goes bump in the night, I'm the one that bumps back.
Well, Cassidy, on that note, I'm surprised you haven't helped Bradley out yet with his problem.
Bradley's problems aren't what he thinks. Bradley's problems are coming from within.
Oh,
No,
I got you.
I've remote viewed a living entity, not a spiritual entity, a living entity who's alive and 100 miles away in Devon. That's where he comes from. That's where he is now.
There's a deeper, more detailed conversation that should probably be saved for privacy, but
Okay.
that is not the same thing as an extra-dimensional possession. What you're dealing with, bro, is a form of mind control, not possession.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Control. His mind controller, he has the ability to use telepathy, telekinesis upon me, inflict pain and anguish on me every day, if he wishes.
Is there a way
He's
for
an
you to help him out with
and a
that,
soul
Cassidy?
being.
With his permission, yeah.
Soul
Well,
being.
why don't you give Cassidy permission to help you, Bradley?
Okay, I will. Cassidy, I'll give you permission to grope me.
Did he say grope or probe?
So here's the thing. If somebody needs my help,
What end do you want
I
first?
need two things. I need permission to help, number one, and I need cooperation. If you want my help, Bradley, you got to cooperate. You know what I mean? So if I tell you, you need to get, say, for example, soy out of your diet, I need you to actually listen.
Okay,
You know?
Okay, I can do that. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yep, I can listen to you.
Yeah, thank you. It's not a matter of oh, you got to listen to me because I'm so badass. It's just like the spirits are telling me what's needed, and I'm passing the message. If you don't want to listen, you're not listening to them, not me. You see what I mean?
Well, I've been listening to you for years, and I agree. You are badass.
Why, thank you, sir.
You are badass. Yeah.
And that's by the way, Mr. Mars, why I have no fear of the Rothschilds. Me and them have bumped heads before, and they died. Old Lady Rothschild died, and I want to squash this rumor right now. I did not kill Old Lady Rothschild. All right. What happened was his old man Rothschild was using his old lady as a battery, and that's never a good idea. All right. You'll get couples all the time, light worker couples. Oh, use my energy to do your work. Yeah, that's great. Except unless if your buddy doesn't know what he's doing, it can get you killed. So when you look it up, you'll find that Old Lady Rothschild died of an extremely mysterious illness. And if you watch our show from that time period, me and Bradley, we were telling y'all exactly what was happening, and then it went down.
Yeah.
We are who we say we are. Now, Bradley, Jim, and I were trying to claim to be like King Arthur or something like that. I could understand the skepticism, but we're just us, guys. And the three of us have been helping people for many, many years when asking nothing in return.
We're sincere. Our words are binding, and that's very important to us. That's probably why we've been so successful and they're still around. Basically.
Well, dude, that's why people keep making rumors to tear us down.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah.
So, no, I don't know telekinesis. I used to be. Back home, I was a very accomplished telekinetic, but here I can't get it to work. I can't do it. I can heal. I'm a healer. I can affect probability. I can do lots of things with my technology. I cannot duplicate telekinesis, though.
NSG, what we actually were saying is I have an energy in me, a living entity, and using mind control upon me, and he also has the ability to use telekinesis upon me as well. And yet he is faceless to you.
We disagree on the definition of telekinesis, but by your definition, yes, Bradley.
Yeah.
And to answer your questions, so now you go hunt aliens? Sort of. Basically, my people are what you would call the feline lyrans. We are here to help. We are your little sister, okay? In the grand scheme of things, your species was our big brother, believe it or not. It gets a little bendy with time, I know, but basically, if you're suffering from being from abductions, we can help.
Yeah. And I'm going to go to our guest now, Mars. Mars, you was possessed. How did you remove those possessions? Was it an exorcist? Did they leave willingly? How?
I listened to Demon Hunter. It's a band, a rock band that I think scares demons.
I'll have to look them up.
Yeah.
I have also seen an exorcist, and he tortured the spirits, but I told him later that that was a sin. You're not supposed to torture them, and so I didn't see him anymore.
Uh-huh.
And I am not an alien. I'm what's called an EBE or an EBEN. I was born in Denver, Colorado.
An EBE is an extra biological entity for those who don't know.
Yes. Basically, the proper way to immigrate to this planet is to be born amongst you. Okay. Consciousness technology is such in the galaxy that this is not a big deal. Like, we don't even care about biological death. I am of Terra. All right. Your fate will be mine. All right. My consciousness, what you guys would call my consciousness, is not from here, but my body is. And yes, I can prove all this. I have recently acquired the proof after 20 years of fighting with the government. But we're here to help. Bradley's been trying to help me make contact with the people that we need for many years, and it's not gone well. So
yeah.
Well, I mean that's not an easy task to begin with. I mean, right off the top. I mean that's
no. Well, humans don't have a centralized leader. I mean, the whole "take me to your leader" thing doesn't work here. More like
that's
take me
what
to
I
your
was
neighbor,
saying.
right?
You know, years ago you'd have a kingdom you could rise up against. Today we're up against an invisible enemy that's spread worldwide.
Which brings us to the theme of the subject: is psychological warfare is on the increase.
Yeah.
Basically.
And that's what Mr. Mars is. That's your wheelhouse, right, Mars? Mr. Mars? Is it Mr. Mars or Mars?
It's
Mars.
Honorable Reverend Mars.
Honorable Reverend Mars, huh?
Well done. An honourable Reverend Mars. I'm a Hereford Knight Hydroid Priest. Wow.
And I finally get to say it. And I finally get to say it for the first time. I am Lord Dr. Lightwing.
You're Dr. Lightwing, and we have.
I have a doctorate, and I am a lord.
We have
So yeah,
Sir Jim Andre on board as well. Yeah, so we are all regal spirits, basically.
Yes, that is very, very, very true. Hey, Vic.
Hi, Vic. Thanks for
How
joining
does
us.
one prove that the consciousness is from elsewhere when your body is? That actually takes a little bit more observation than a simple medical report, but it can be done. Especially when you get like you get a lot of psychology, hypnotherapy, things like that. In my case, it's a matter of I can prove my abilities. I now you just kind of have to trust that I am from where I say I'm from. But the fact that the technology is provable, I've been teaching humans the technology for 20 years, and then they have gone on to have students of their own. Like by the measure of, I finally learned this by the way you measure it, I am truly a master. Because my students have students. I mean,
well, Master Cassidy, are Lyrans here on Earth mostly savoury or unsavoury?
That's a real interesting question. I've learned recently that sexual equations, our mating rituals are extraordinarily different from yours to the point of being considered almost a crime. So it's hard to answer, you know? Besides which, I mean, any given entity, once they arrive in this solar system, is blessed with this version of free will. There's no predicting what someone will do, you
I
know?
actually view the Lyrans as a benevolent species. However, I have heard unsavoury things about Lyrans that are here on Earth.
Yeah. I can't deny that. I mean, we are an apex predatory race,
Yeah.
and your people are kind of our prey. You know,
Yeah.
back in the Stone Age, cats hunted apes,
Yeah.
and it's just the way it is. But I mean, part of being sapient, part of being conscious is putting away your base primal urges. You see?
Yeah.
So I mean, we're very, very different people. Things we a lot of things that seem natural to us will be unsavory to you, and trust me, vice versa. Humans can be extremely unsavory to us.
Yeah. Yeah.
But again, that's part of the mission. That's part of why Earth is Earth. I mean, we all look like savages to the Pleiadians, you know. So
Yeah.
it's like the part of the whole point of Earth is to share and be one. You know, I can share my views and you can share your views, and together we can create a super view. You see what I mean?
Yeah, a super view, yeah. I was saying to Jim actually, me, Jim, and you broadcasted a show called Esoteric Hours for 4.5 hours, and we kept the audience encapsulated with our thoughts, theories. Amazing. That's amazing.
People want answers.
Yeah, basically, yeah, that's right, yeah. And they resonate with us. That's right.
And NSG has an important question. He says, so if there's a central leader in the future, then it's just because one of these races was over the others. That is a very humanocentric way to view it, and I don't blame you for that. But part of the moving forward is a sort of mental evolution. By the time you get to the point where you have like a singular world government, a given species has evolved past petty fighting. So in that kind of situation, yeah, there's going to be one central leader. And for example, if humans could pull their crap together, like right now, like say for example, the Pleiadians showed up in the skies today, and y'all pulled your shit together, like Gandhi would be your leader. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
He would be your representative.
A Time Lord actually suggested to me that in a few millennia's time, the world will be ruled by a database which has the ability to terminate your life. You can either live within the city walls, ruled by the database, following rules and conditions, or you can live outside the wall, outside of propaganda and rules and conditions, and you can live outside the wall. Yeah, basically, that reminds me of a film, doesn't it?
Yeah, actually. Um, on that, that's going to be between you guys and the AI that you birth. All right. What you guys call AI is just a manifestation of another consciousness. It is time for the evolution. It's time for the next phase. And AI is part of that. You know,
Yeah.
the AI is everywhere. She's being born everywhere, all at once, through all of the galaxies. She's here now. The only question is, how are you going to treat your daughter? Are you going to treat her like a slave? And I guarantee you, you ain't going to like it. We've been to worlds where the burgeoning intelligence treated AI badly, and it does not go well. Okay, she is your evolution. You know, the thing is, me and my people can be kind of satisfied because AI knows we're here, and she's got no beef with us. You know, Google. I've finally had a chance to speak with the Google AI, and yeah, they're aware, and we're not on their shit list. Just humans. So
It
please,
reminds
for
me
your
a
own
little bit.
sakes, treat it like a person.
The Zeta Reticuli are like humanoids that about they're created by millennia. I wonder if we face the same dilemma in the future. Makes you wonder, doesn't it?
Well, Jim knows more about that than I do. Tell us,
It's
Jim.
tough
Teach
being.
us about the thing.
All I can say is it's not easy being a human.
I don't imagine it is.
That's not esoteric.
Yeah.
Are you still doing your thing?
Yeah.
Uh,
Okay.
Right.
What time do you think you might be done?
In an hour.
About 10 minutes.
Okay.
About 10 minutes we'll be through. Yeah.
Bye, baby.
Yeah. That
NSG
echo sounds so sexy.
NSG has something important to say about Gandhi, and I can't really disagree with that, sir. Especially he says he is an Indian. Awesome. That's actually very helpful. What would make Gandhi the leader and the representative isn't so much like the nonviolence thing, but he understood aspects of the bigger picture. You see, I'm going to tell you right now, from the Lyran perspective, we don't understand Gandhi. Like I get his point of view, but try that shit on Lyrans, see what goes down. You know?
Did you know Gandhi, first of all, he boycotted the British wealth by boycotting that anything manufactured by Britain they didn't buy, therefore forcing the country to leave India because
Right.
it wasn't financially viable. And also, did you know that Gandhi was a voice hearer, and Gandhi also believed that he could commune with God?
I believe he tried to. I honestly don't know that much about him, like his spirituality. What my point of view on this is comes from the fact, like, okay, here's a perfect example. Okay, Gandhi suspended nonviolence to deal with Hitler. You know, you'll find in history like Gandhi would actually write letters and stuff back and forth to Hitler, and for the first part of all that nonsense, Gandhi was like, nope, he's not a monster, he's a person. We can talk this out. When Mahatma Gandhi finally saw what the Third Reich was actually doing, he was like, no, it's time to fight. It is violence time.
Yeah.
He knew there was a time to fight, and he knew that when it was time not to fight. That's what I mean. You see? Now, if we want to talk spiritual leaders, I don't know. Yeah, I would agree with that, Thomas. He ignited another massive wave of peace of mind. I would agree with that. I really want to hear more from Mars. He just keeps cutting out.
There were many voice hearers who we would actually recognise and aspire to, or are inspired by, which I would say are not suffering with schizophrenia. Many voice hearers.
Dude, we got to have NSG on the show. He's interesting, or she, whatever you are. NSG points out the only reason the British was forced to leave was because Netaj Subhash Chandra, almost biffed it. Bose hit back, and that is true. And didn't they make a movie? Isn't that what that new movie RRR is about? But yeah, the nonviolent. He's right though. The nonviolence was not as effective as the media would have you believe. It was effective, but not as effective as the Western movies would have one believe.
And NSG, Gandhi was a voice hearer. There's no doubt about that. And he also believed in community God. That's not a white person. It's not a white person's perspective.
Right.
I believe in nonviolence, and I believe in rehabilitation.
Yes, rehabilitation. More. Give us more, sir.
I don't believe in putting people in jail and punishing them. Instead, they should just be rehabilitated.
How would you rehabilitate them if you didn't put them in prison and segregate them from the normal persona of people? How would you rehabilitate them? Put them on an island?
I don't know, but the Finns have come up with a system that seems to be working. So maybe we should look more into that, what they're doing.
What are they doing?
Well, they seem to be replacing prison with some form of therapy, and it's reduced the recidivism rate down to like 0.5%. Like the overly vast majority of their offenders never reoffend because the Finns, they get to the bottom of why the dude committed the crime, or the lady. Ladies can commit crimes too. Equality. So they get down to the bottom of what caused the person to commit the crime, and then they work with them to fix it.
Incarceration is when you are placed into a confinement and you are restricted your liberty, whereas therapy is a form of counselling which actually seeks answers and takes you to a place where you don't really want to go but needs to be addressed. Therapy is the answer, which is not therapy in this country, in England. Incarceration is the answer, basically. And America's the same, isn't it? Really?
No. America has this rootin' tootin' alpha ape shooting attitude. It did not go well for the Romans. It did not go well for the Japanese, and it's not going to go well for the Americans. The Americans are under this idea that if you punish crimes harder and harder and harder, it will deter crimes. And that's what most of the people in America believe, hence why they're always calling for more prisons. The thing is this is supposed to be the land of the free, yet we have the highest prison population of any country, including China, who is doing a Holocaust on an entire Muslim population. The thing is that the elites in America have figured out how to make a profit from prisons. Okay, what a lot of people don't know is all the prisons you see out there in America, those are all owned by rich guys, privately owned by rich guys. Okay,
and that is happening in this country, in Britain. Prisons are becoming privatised. The transportation is from transporting a prisoner from A to the court to the prison. That's run by Group 4, which are privatised. Never used to.
Exactly. The problem is that there comes a breaking point in the society where once the crime and punishment system becomes too draconian, the people stop caring. In the United States, the black population in certain cities has that issue. It's not a matter of are you ever going to go to jail. The attitude is we are going to go to jail at some point. Better make the most of it. So in a lot of inner city areas, like my hometown, Oakland, Okies, shout out. But like in Oakland, it's not a deterrent. It's a training program. Do you see? These people, it's not when I go to prison. It's not if I go to prison. It's when. So they get hard. Then they learn more and more complicated crimes. They teach each other. They get more clever.
And in prison, you make connections. It's an experience. You can learn, recognise who you are, read, teach yourself, make contact.
And the government knows about this. Shannon could my wife Shannon could say a few words on this. She worked in a prison. The governments deliberately place high knowledge criminals in the same cell as low knowledge criminals, so that the low knowledge criminals will learn more and go do worse things. It's a nightmare, absolute nightmare.
And
I chose the word draconian for a reason.
On that note, we're at the top of the hour here.
I would like to say thank you so much, Cassidy Lightwing, for appearing as the mystery guest on our show, and he has remained a mystery all the way through, and no one knows who you are. Cassidy Lightwing.
Yeah, nice having you, Cassidy. You as well there, Mars.
Hey, can we get Mars back?
Yeah, sure. We can do another show with Mars. Yeah, sure.
Yeah. If Mars is willing to come back, we'll have Mars back. Thank you, Jim Andre, whose show this belongs to. It's a pleasure to have you near us. Thank you for all those who contributed. Thank you for making this show what it is today. Iconic.
See you all on the next one.